Buy a supply of Simmer's butter biscuits. They're delicious on every occasion.
Fallout was first broadcast in February 1968. Written, directed and produced by Patrick McGoohan, the final episode to The Prisoner was watched by millions of viewers, all eager to find out number one's identity. In France, the show was titled The Outcome, and in Germany as Unmasking. For many fans of The Prisoner, Fallout is less a conclusion than a philosophical grenade lobbed at the audience. It's a kaleidoscope of surreal imagery and sparse yet perplexing dialogue. Some still ask, so who was number one, and where exactly was the village? For cerebral viewers who understood allegory and were paying attention throughout the series, everything was explained, everything made sense, and there couldn't have been a clearer and more rewarding ending or beginning.
I'm sure the show was intimidating to a lot of people, but they were hooked. And you mean we've watched this show for 17 episodes, you've got us in every night, you still haven't told us where the village is, you still haven't told us what secrets you had, you haven't told us anything, you know, and you're going back to your home where you got drugged in the first place so it could all happen again.
Upon airing, Fallout sparked outrage. UK viewers expecting easy answers flooded ITV with complaints, and McGoohan went into hiding to avoid the backlash. The Daily Mirror called it a baffling cop-out, sounds right for them, while others praised its boldness. The Times noted its defiant ambiguity, reflecting the polarised reception. Over time, more critics lauded its philosophical depth, with modern scholars like Catherine Lupton calling it a radical critique of narrative closure.
I wanted to have controversy, argument, fights, discussions, people in anger, waving fists in my face, saying, how dare you, why don't you do more secret agents that we can understand? I was delighted with that reaction. I think it's a very good one. That was the intention of the exercise.
The end show is a masterstroke because it refuses to provide the tidy resolution audiences craved. Viewers expected answers. Who is number one? Why was number 6 captured? A conventional finale would have named a villain, an evil mastermind, a government agency, and granted number 6 a clear escape. Instead, McGoohan delivers a surreal tribunal where answers are replaced by questions.
The reason that it was confusing and that they were disappointed, I think, is because they expected the ending to be similar to a Bond thing with this mystery man, the head man, whatever they call him in Bond. And of course it wasn't about that at all. It was about the most evil human being, human essence, and that is ourselves. It is within each of us. That is the most dangerous thing on earth, is what is within us. And so therefore that's what I made number one, oneself. An image of himself, which he was trying to beat.
Over half a century later, The Prisoner is a series that redefined television by asking, who controls us? What is freedom? And can we ever truly escape? This text will argue why Fallout is the best ending McGoohan could have written, exploring its allegorical brilliance, its defiance of audience expectation, and its refusal to compromise the series' core themes. McGoohan told Roger Goodman, I knew in my mind where it had to go. I hadn't got the specific ending that we finished up with, but I certainly knew where it had to go, and the way it should finish, and the message it should put forth. But I didn't have the last script at the beginning. In fact, the last script was written very close to the end, scribbling away and chiseling at it, until eventually I got what we have, which, as far as I'm concerned, works. I wouldn't change it.
The ending, I think, was in style with the series.
So you can make up your own mind?
Well, yeah, it's sort of like an abstract, and you can see things in it.
David Tomlin recalled, I understood it, but I understood it better than most because I knew Patrick. It was oblique, because Pat's an oblique person. George Markstein, who'd been fired, I left the show months earlier, would state, I think it defied the whole purpose of the series, since the basic concept of the truth of the series is that you're a prisoner in an everyday prison whose ghastly abnormality is also its horrifying normality. Fallout missed the point. Throughout the series, Markstein had grown disillusioned with the show. He saw it as a straight spy story. On the other hand, McGoohan, to whom number 6 was very personal, saw the whole thing as allegory and pushed for more surreal aspects in later scripts.
I think it was a bit of gross self-indulgence by somebody who was fed up with the whole thing and wanted to get out of it and wanted to go out in a blaze of...
The somewhat chaotic production of Fallout forces McGoohan to distill the series' essence. The rush script combined with improvisation from Canner and Griffiths' self-penned dialogue creates a raw, dreamlike quality that suits the episode's themes. McGoohan's decision to credit himself as prisoner in the closing titles, rather than number 6, underscores the personal stakes. This is his manifesto, a cry against conformity, drawn from his own clashes with studio executives, and a lifelong quest to be an individual.
Are you sure there's going to be an ending? He said, yes. And then he came to me at a later period and said, Lou, I just cannot find an ending. I've got too confused with the project. And I thought it was very nice of him to come straight out to me and admit it. And I told the networks, we have no ending.
The backlash, viewers jamming ITV switchboards and McGoohan hiding away from angry fans, only proves the ending's impact. As the Times noted in 1968, Fallout's defiant ambiguity challenges the complacency of narrative television. A conventional ending, therefore, would have betrayed this vision, diluting the prisoner's radical legacy.
That's probably why they felt betrayed. They wanted to see a guy there with a machine like, I'm number 1. You know, Sean Connery sitting there, I controlled this whole show. It wasn't.
Fallout transforms the village into a vivid allegory for society's control mechanisms. The underground chamber, with its robed figures and Orwellian machinery, represents hidden power structures, governments, corporations, or the psyche itself. The ironic use of all you need is love, secured with the Beagle's approval, perfectly juxtaposes the absolute violence and wanton killing. McGoohan, a devout Catholic, skeptical of utopian ideals, suggests that such sentiments are co-opted by authority to pacify dissent. The episode's sparse dialogue, particularly number 6's silent speech, reflects the individual struggle against collective conformity. When the assembly chants, it reflects society's paradoxical celebration of individualism while enforcing uniformity, a theme eerily prescient in today's social media echo chambers. The final shot, when number 6's London door opens automatically, just like the villagers, implies that escape is illusory, a cyclical trap. This circularity, rooted in Albert Camus's concept of the absurd, makes Fallout the only ending that honours the series' refusal to simplify the human condition. The characters in Fallout, number 48, number 2, and the President, embody archetypes that amplify the episode's themes. Number 48, played with anarchic energy by Alexis Canner, represents a misunderstood youth of the 1960s. His mod attire and Den Bones performance evoking countercultural rebellion, yet his unfocused defiance suggests the limits of performative protest, a critique McGoohan extends to the era's idealism. Number 2, portrayed by a haunted Leo McKern, is the establishment insider who briefly rebels, only happy to return to being a suit, symbolizing the system's ability to reclaim dissenters. The President, played by Kenneth Griffith, is the voice of authority. His theatrical dialogue, partly self-written, masking authoritarianism in pomp. Number 6, McGoohan's alter ego, is the defiant individual. His silence in Fallout, a powerful refusal to conform. By weaving these archetypes into a surreal narrative, McGoohan ensures the ending is not about plot resolution, but about universal truths, rebellion, complicity, and the external struggle for autonomy.
I mean, you can't have Sean Connery looking at himself at the end and say, I'm going to kill you, mate. You know, you can't do that. It don't work for James Bond, because there's not a lot of mystery in James Bond.
Fallout succeeds because it refuses to resolve the unresolvable. By revealing number 1 as number 6, McGoohan suggests that the enemy is both external, society's system, and internal, our fears, egos, or complicity. This duality, rooted in Jungian psychology and existentialism, makes the ending timeless. A clear villain or escape would have reduced The Prisoner to a spy thriller. Instead, Fallout elevates it to a meditation on the human condition. The episode's refusal to spoon-feed answers forces viewers to grapple with its questions, a bold choice that aligns with McGoohan's belief, as quoted in a 1977 interview, that freedom is a myth unless fought for constantly. This uncompromising stance makes Fallout not just the best ending for The Prisoner, but one of television's greatest finales, a work that trusts its audience's intelligence and dares them to think.
I believe it's becoming more and more relevant today than any other time. Other people, although I might not be around in another 40 years' time, I think people will still be examining it, a bit like they'll be examining Alice in Wonderland.
You know, studios very rarely say to any actor or director, you have total control. Patrick had it.
Our last show begins with a lengthy recap of Once Upon a Time, leading in to some overhead shots of Port Merion. This hadn't been mentioned in the previous titles, because the crew didn't want the village being stormed by extra sightseers whilst trying to film. One can also spy some of the crew's cars, even though they're being asked to park further afield. The controller, the buckler, and Six are taken down into the underground chamber, and in the original script, number 6 was asked, "Are you sure?" The metal doors open, providing the viewer with an eerie shot of Six as a mannequin, complete with swinging hangers, as though someone's just left the room. Peter Swanick's line was also delivered in a chilling manner. The mannequin sports number 6's black suit, so we now know the Doctor in Arrival had been telling lies. As number 6 reaches out to his mannequin, we hear the famous intro to the Beatles, All You Need Is Love, leading to one of the most iconic scenes in the whole series. This classic song, written for the Our World TV show, was the first live multinational and multi-satellite television production, seeing the Beatles perform live to over 700 million people. This song was performed at the height of the Vietnam War, highlighting the chasm between the song's idealism and the reality of entrenched power structures, the same structures that orchestrate wars to make money. For McGoohan, Lennon's triumphant lyric must have really hit a chord. The jukeboxes, each playing the same song, can symbolize a multitude of voices or entities, representing individuals, institutions, or societal forces unified in delivering a single, homogeneous message. Number 6 is led into a vast cavernous room, complete with stalactites, banks of computers, and a massive rocket, ready for takeoff and expelling liquid oxygen. Armed security files by, and a large, ornate throne graces the center of the room. Surgeons are on scene, and at the back of the cave, rows of delegates are seated behind the judge. The delegates are dressed in white robes, faces covered in black and white masks, each representing various societal factions, ideologies, or institutions. The black and white masks in Fallout symbolize the loss of individuality and the duality of human nature. Throughout the series, McGoohan had featured many black and white themes, from floor tiles, chess squares to glasses. He was no lover of the Freemasons, nor any secret society. The controller puts on his robe and mask to take his place with the delegates. In the original script, the buckler was also offered the same attire, but refused. Number 6 slowly walks past the oscillating lift shafts, one of which holds our uncontrollable youth. Just next to this sit 2 village personnel, now manning machine guns rather than cameras. All the while the delegates are enthusiastically clapping until the judge brings his gavel down to signify he's ready to speak. Kenneth Griffith played the role with theatrical gravitas and was asked by McGoohan to write the president's speech. He recalled, "I wrote that long speech and gave it to McGoohan. He looked at it and said, 'That's all right.' So when you wonder how Fallout was shot in just a couple of weeks, it really is that drive to be better than the finances would allow." Number 6 is presented to the judge, and after stating he has won the ultimate test, he is no longer to be referred to as a number. He is now to be referred to as Sir and an individual. McGoohan tentatively takes his seat on the chair, then sports an expression of delight. The giant metal doors open to reveal the Cage mobile home, where McKern's number 2 lay dormant. The rocket belts out a tone that somehow understood by the judge, leading number 2 to be resuscitated. It had been a full year since Leo had filmed Once Upon a Time, and he'd shaven off his beard for work on other roles. This change in appearance was easily rectified by having the surgeons give a little facial reconstruction to number 2. The judge brings number 48 into the show, with Kanna's character portraying misunderstood youth, a stand-in for 1960s counterculture. Kanna's electric character breaks the fourth wall, and for people paying attention throughout the series, McGoohan had done the same on more than one occasion. The stern judge informs 48 that here is his opportunity to plead his case, but the reckless youth wants nothing of it. Instead, he breaks out into song, provoking the judge as the delegates rise in complete confusion. The rocket chimes in, and it's not sure whether its tones are a signal of approval. Whatever was meant, the judge orders 48 to be released. The judge offers some words of compassion to the youth's ethos, but ultimately states that revolt must be abolished. 48, now in silence and sporting a distant expression, simply shakes his golden bell, perhaps a small gesture of wishing to address the court. Number 48 represents the archetype of youthful idealism, a force that challenges authority but risks being co-opted or crushed. His singing of Dem Bones, a song with biblical roots in Ezekiel's vision of reanimated bones, is a metaphor for resurrection and renewal. Allegorically, Dem Bones warns that revolutionary ideals, like the countercultures, can be reduced to empty gestures if not grounded in substance. This irony is central to Fallout's critique of superficial change, a lesson for modern movements that prioritize virality over impact. Yet the song's playful delivery undercuts its gravitas, hinting at the counterculture's vulnerability to trivialization. McGoohan, wary of the era's drug-filled escapism, writes number 48 as both sympathetic and flawed, a rebel whose energy is potent but directionless. His rebellion, while vibrant, lacks the intellectual rigour of number 6's resistance. He represents the danger of rebellion as mere spectacle, protests that make a lot of noise but fail to dismantle systems. In allegorical terms, he's the spirit of youth that burns brightly but risks fading into conformity or irrelevance, a theme resident in today's social media-driven activism, where performative gestures often outshine substantive change. McGoohan stated, "That was always at the back of my mind, for as long as I can remember, you know." So I suppose there was a certain amount of symbolism in that. Yes, a certain amount did emerge. Kanna recalled to Dave Jones that most of 48 running around the set wasn't rehearsed. These guys were ganging up on me. There was a gurney lying there, the stretcher that they brought Leo up on, and I just shoved it at them. There was nowhere to go, so I chased the stretcher and jumped on it. That was improvised, and I must say the guys were amazing. It has been stated that McGoohan offered a bottle of whiskey to the first man who could catch Canna.
Fallout. Fallout was an experience that took a long time to get over in every sense of the word, and it was a great experience, working with a very brilliant man.
Len Harris, camera operator, recalled that the scenes were chaotic and that Canna really wanted to go to town, running over a large plastic boulder. Quote, "I said to McGoohan, I can't miss the spot round all that light, but Patrick didn't seem to mind. He said it fitted in with what was going on, the madness of the scene." Number 6's laconic interjection is delivered with a sympathetic expression. The judge wishes to bring the hearing back into line, and after asking for Sir's approval to expedite matters, McGoohan amusingly replies with,
"Don't mention it, Dad."
This not only amuses the youth, but shows Six's mutual disdain for the court proceedings. What follows is a rather magnificent and capricious back and forth between the judge and 48.
Like the message. Then you went and got.
Why?
Give it to me, baby.
That's it.
Give me the rest.
Give all you want to give, that's it.
The whole court joins in with the madness until the judge ends the chant with, "Now you're high." 48 can be seen as signifying to the judge that his youthful rebellion was a part of every generation prior. 48 starts to sing Dem Bones, and this is immediately taken up by the delegates. Just for a moment, they all remember their own youthful rebellion. 48 looks back at Sir with an expression of, "Hey, have you seen this?" The judge, now visibly upset by his own participation, orders number 48, guilty as charged. The anarchist delegate is played by Michael Miller, who previously been seen in The General and A Change of Mind. His distinctive voice and beard giving him away. In the original script, the president asks if any have a comment. The delegate, representing old folk, raises his hand and says, "He is young, but we need to live." The delegate for youngsters then replies, "We would plead for as much mercy as we can." Number 6 states he notes the proceedings without approval, and with that, 48 is taken to be held until after the inauguration. Our next revolutionary, albeit for a short time, is our returning number 2, as played by Leo McGoohan. Once a formidable enforcer of the village's authority, he's now a fallen cog in the machine, a bureaucrat who briefly rebels against the system he served. His rebellion reflects moments when those within oppressive structures question their roles, only to be reabsorbed. McGoohan's character, with his Shakespearean gravitas, represents a tragedy of complicity. Even rebels within the system are shaped by it. His revival in Fallout serves as a metaphor for the persistence of institutional power, which recycles its agents rather than reforms. Number 2 is a warning about the seductive pull of power. His rebellion is fleeting because it lacks the ideological purity of number 6's resistance. He represents those who challenge the system from within, whistleblowers, reformers, only to be reintegrated. His suited figure in the final shot is a chilling reminder that the establishment often reclaims its own, a metaphor for how revolutions can be co-opted by the very structures they oppose. Number 2 greets Sir with enthusiasm, although his beckoning to the buckler results in him standing alone without his servant. After delivering an articulate and rousing speech, Number 2 looks ill at ease within his state of rebellion. This is his moment to gripe, to get off his chest all that built-up contempt, but more to the point, to speak of his self-loathing for his all-too-quick acquiescence into the system. In allegorical terms, the weaker side of number 6's psyche has been beaten. 2 asks how he was killed. Was it the drink? Alcohol and other drugs drown the weaver's hands. Your ability to create and shape your own story. It turns you into a shadow of what you might have been. A winner. Sir asks number 2 if he ever met number 1. McGoohan's character bursts out in laughter at the very thought. McGoohan's original line here was, Watch. He gets annoyed if you look at him for too long. As he stares into the fellow glass eye of number 1, he was to say, "Let me die," before calling the rocket an evil, snivelling demon. Number 2 rips off his badge in defiance, then spits in one's eye. His almost childlike rebellion and being escorted from the room like a drunk from a football match makes us think of him as a person rather than a number. The judge briefs the court on the 2 forms of revolt. 1, the uncoordinated youth, and the second, an established member of the establishment. After the rocket, our number 1 interrupts. We see on the screen Sir's house being readied for his return. The surname is of set designer John Laguerre, and the man behind the steering wheel driving the Lotus was Caterham Car's director, Graham Nairn. Graham recalled, "It was a street shot where the Lotus 7 was driven very fast up Buckingham Place and screeched to a halt outside the door. Their driver couldn't handle it. He could go quickly enough, but he couldn't stop in time. He nearly took the cameraman out. So Pat got me to drive it." After praising number 6's triumph in winning his freedom, the judge offers the job of either leading or leaving the village. To lead would be accepting one's own imprisonment, and to accept the status quo. Nothing would be gained whether warder or prisoner. Just before McGoohan makes his speech, I like the shot of him taking the coins from the bag and weighing them up. Was this 30 pieces of silver? The incessant chanting of "I" by the collective paradoxically underscores the erasure of the individual voice. Each delegate's cry of "I" is not a celebration of their own individuality, but a conformist echo, a hollow assertion of self that serves the system's agenda. Number 6, who has fought relentlessly to preserve his autonomy and identity, is silenced by this cacophony, signifying the ultimate triumph of the collective over the individual. He looks stunned and perplexed as he returns to his throne. After all this theatre, the judge now informs Sir it's time to meet number 1. Sir is led down into a corridor flanked by armed guards, and just below the spiral staircase are 2 pods holding number 2 and 48. The orbit sign on each pod was to signify they were to be blasted into space. At the top of the staircase is a collection of globes, and finally, the figure of number 1. The man in the white shroud was extra Roy Beck. He recalled, "Ronald Lyle's production manager came up to me one day and said, 'Would you like to be number 1?' I thought, sudden fame at last." Unfortunately for Roy, the actual unmasking scene was of course Patrick. The hooded figure turns to McGoohan and hands him a psychic's crystal ball. His future shows 6 being permanently trapped in a cyclical prison.
I.
Of which 6 smashes a glass ball and pulls off number 1's masks, finally revealing himself, cackling like a twisted demon.
I forget how many frames. I think there were 52 frames or something of the shot when you pulled off the monkey mask. And number 1's a monkey, and then number 1's himself. It was deliberate. I mean, I could have held it there for a good 2 minutes and put a subtitle on it saying it's him, you know. But I thought that I wasn't going to pander to a mentality so low that it couldn't perceive what I was trying to say. So you had to be a little quick to pick it up.
His dark side escapes through the hatch in the rocket, leaving our number 6 the only option available. Total destruction by whatever means. Freeing his fellow rebellious comrades, they take on the armed guards and spill out into the courtroom, spraying bullets at everything in their way. Roy Beck was also one of the gunners manning the revolving turrets. Canna fired his Thompson too near to Beck's leg, resulting in Roy having to go to hospital. This wonderful scene, juxtaposed with All You Need Is Love, may be an inevitable part of rebellion. The allegorical village is evacuated as the buckler drives his colleagues to freedom. Canna recalled, "Boy, we were really happy to be in the van with the cigars and tea tray. Leo and I were dancing and really happy." In the original script when number 48 jumps from the lorry, he was to say, Got to keep moving, man. This scene was shot at 5 a.m. and McGoohan insisted on the Dry Bones music being played aloud. The policeman on his bike pulling them up actually happened. Leo McKern's character wanders back to the Houses of Parliament, and his original line was, "I used to be a big lad there once. I think I'll just wander over there and revive a few memories." As McGoohan is explaining his escape to the constable, I like the woman's look as she turns around with a quizzical expression. Our agent grabs the buckler and they make their way back to 1 Buckingham Place. Number 48 is seen trying to hitchhike in both directions, signifying rebellious youth not knowing which direction to take. As our agent and buckler are at the front steps to his home, the same ominous hearse drives by, no doubt ready to take our number 6 back to the start of the journey. For those with keen ears and eyes in 68, we see and hear the door open, just like the doors in the village. McGoohan is shown driving around London, but he's only named as prisoner. Leo's number 2 is now shown in his new suit, looking dapper and ready to take up his prior role in the halls of the establishment. Some people never change. In a fitting cyclical last shot, we finish as we began, with our agent enjoying a moment of freedom.
In fact, when the last episode came out in England, it had one of the largest viewing audiences, they tell me, ever over there, because everyone wanted to know who number 1 was, you see, because they thought it would be a James Bond type number 1. When they did finally see it, there was a near riot, and I was going to be lynched, and I had to go into hiding in the mountains for 2 weeks till things calmed down. Absolutely true.
They were angry?
Oh yeah, walking around the streets, it was dangerous for me.
Why were they angry?
Because they thought they'd been cheated. Because it wasn't, you know, a James Bond number 1 guy.
It was themselves.
The Prisoner, across its 17 episodes, is a prophetic warning about surveillance, conformity, encroaching government, and the erosion of individuality. In today's world, its lessons are urgent. As we navigate a world of digital panopticons, algorithmic control, and polarized ideologies, here are key takeaways drawn from the series and amplified by Fallout's radical vision. 1. Resist surveillance and control. The village's omnipresent cameras and number 2's interrogations mirror today's reality. Smartphones tracking our movements, social media profiling our thoughts, and governments monitoring dissent. The village's omnipresent cameras and number 2's interrogations mirror today's reality. Smartphones tracking our movements, social media profiling our thoughts, and governments monitoring dissent. Fallout's revelation that number 1 is number 6 warns that we are complicit in our surveillance, all too willing to share data for convenience. Lesson: question the tools you use and opt out of unnecessary tracking. Instead, support privacy-focused technologies and challenge systems that demand your data as a price of participation. Number 2, guard your individuality. Number 6's mantra is a rallying cry against dehumanization. In Fallout, his silent speech reflects how society drowns out dissent. Today, social media and cancel culture pressure conformity, while algorithms dictate what we see and think. Lesson: cultivate critical thinking. Seek diverse perspectives, read beyond headlines, and define your identity beyond likes or followers. As number 6 shows, individuality is a daily fight. Number 3, beware performative rebellion. Number 48's vibrant but unfocused rebellion in Fallout critiques the 1960s counterculture, a warning for today's activists. Social media campaigns, while powerful, often prioritize virality over impact. Hashtags replacing policy change. Lesson: channel passion into strategy. Study systems of power, build coalitions, and aim for structural reform, not just symbolic gestures. True rebellion, like number 6's, is disciplined and relentless. Number 4. Recognize the cyclical nature of power. Number 2. Short-lived rebellion and return to his suit illustrate how systems absorb dissent.
What is deplorable is that I resisted for so short a time.
Today, corporations court progressive causes, think rainbow logos, and governments neutralize whistleblowers through legal or social pressure. Lesson: stay vigilant, support independent voices, question co-opted movements, and recognize that power adapts to maintain control. Freedom requires constant resistance. Number 5. Confront internal prisons. The number 1 reveal in Fallout suggests that our greatest chains are self-imposed: fear, ego, or conformity. In today's world, mental health crisis, driven by social pressures and digital overload, echo this truth. Lesson: reflect on your motivations. Are you driven by external validation or internal truth? Practice self-awareness through journaling, therapy, or mindfulness, and challenge the internal village that limits your freedom. Number 6. Art as resistance. The Prisoner itself, culminating in Fallout, is a testament to art's power to provoke. McGoohan's battle with studio executives to maintain his vision mirrors Number 6's defiance. In an era of algorithm-driven content, where entertainment often panders, The Prisoner reminds us that art can challenge. Lesson: support bold, independent creators. Engage with works that unsettle, like The Prisoner, and use art to spark dialogue and change. Fallout is the best ending McGoohan could have written, because it refuses to betray the prisoner's soul. A conventional resolution would have reduced the series to a puzzle with a solution, but instead Fallout elevates it to a philosophical inquiry, challenging us to question authority, resist conformity, and confront our inner prisons. Its allegorical depth, number 1 as self, the village as society, ensures its timelessness, while its courage to alienate viewers proves its integrity. In today's world, The Prisoner urges us to be like Number 6, defiant, questioning, and fiercely individual. As we navigate a world of surveillance, echo chambers, data tracking, and corporate gatekeepers of rebellion, let us heed its call, fight for freedom, question power, and never stop seeking truth, because the village is always watching. And with that, I want to thank ITV, 21st Century Films, Chris Rodley, and the brilliant Rick Davy for footage, advice, and information. Thank you, Patrick McGoohan, for your genius and your perennial message to future generations. Be seeing you.
Be seeing you.